Hello Vampire fam and welcome back to the channel. Today we're sinking our teeth into a deck that is so classic, so powerful. It practically created its own archetype. We're talking about the one, the only, the OG Vampire Lord, Edgar Markov. This ain't just a commander, he's a passive-aggressive value machine thanks to his Eminence ability. As long as he is in the command zone or on the battlefield, whenever you cast another vampire spell, you get a free 1/1 vampire token. That's right, we're making a vampire army before our commander even hits the board. And when Edgar does land for a modest 6 mana, he's a 4/4, first strike and haste. But the real bite comes when he attacks. He puts a +1/+1 counter on every single vampire you control. So if you're ready to bleed your opponents dry and lead an unstoppable legion of the night, it's time to get into this deck. The core of this deck is generating a massive army of vampires. While Edgar's Eminence ability is the main event, we have plenty of ways to turn our tiny tokens into a monstrous legion. Let's start with a new card that makes your opponents sweat. Charismatic Conqueror gives your opponents a choice. Tap down their creature or artifact, or you get a free 1/1 vampire with lifelink. For a classic, we have Bloodline Keeper, which is a classic lord that can make a 2/2 flying vampire token, and once we have enough vampires, he transforms to give our entire board +2/+2. For some spicy new tech, we have Vampire Socialite, which for just 2 mana puts a +1/+1 counter on all other vampires when it enters, and it makes all future vampires enter with an extra counter as long as an opponent has lost life this turn. This is how we get the party started. Now, who doesn't love a big buff? We have tons of ways to make our vampires bigger and badder. The absolute dream card is Vampire Nocturnus. As long as the top card of your library is black, this card gives all of your vampires +2/+1 and flying. We can literally kill someone in the air with this. We also have the truly sick, captivating vampire. Not only does it give all your vampires a passive +1/+1 buff, but once you have 5 vampires on the board, you can tap them to steal an opponent's creature. And a classic lord that can get you going really fast is the Legion Lieutenant. For just 2 mana, you get a 2/2, gives all other vampires +1/+1. It's a key piece to getting to that critical mass of power. Who needs combat damage when you can just drain your opponents dry? The best part of this deck is its ability to win the game without ever having to attack. The Drain and Gain package is an absolute lethal way to close things out. The all-stars here are Blood Artist and Cruel Celebrant. Both of these vampires make each opponent lose life. You gain a life whenever one of your creatures or planeswalkers dies. This lets you turn all of your tokens you've been making into direct damage, and they stack with each other for maximum pain. To make things truly bonkers, we have the legendary Vito Thorn of the Dusk Rose. Whenever you gain life, he makes a target opponent lose that much life, turning our drain triggers into a one-shot kill. Let's keep the blood flowing. We also have a few more pieces of the Drain and Gain puzzle. Sanctum Seeker is a fantastic vampire that drains each opponent for 1 life every time a vampire you control attacks. This is great for pressuring opponents without even connecting for damage. We also have some more consistent passive drain. Creeping Bloodsucker deals 1 damage to each opponent at your upkeep, and you gain that much life. For some truly spicy tech, Twilight Prophet is an absolute bomb. Once you have the City's Blessing, at the beginning of your upkeep, you reveal a card and each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value, and you gain that much life. And for the ultimate finisher, we have the new Bloodletter of Exquisite. If an opponent would lose life on your turn, they lose double that amount instead. That's an instant win with a few drain triggers. Now, a deck that can't find its pieces is a deck that is going to lose. So we're running some of the best tutors in the game. The classic Demonic Tutor is an auto include for just 2 mana. we can find any card in our deck and put it into our hand. We also have Diabolic Intent, which lets us sacrifice a creature to search for any card in our deck. This is a perfect way to get value out of a small vampire token that was already on its way out. And for some new school tech, we have Insatiable Avarice. This is a versatile card that can either tutor a card to the top of our library for a low cost, or if we have a mana to spare, it lets us draw 3 cards and makes the target player lose 3 life. A deck that is going to run out of gas is a deck that is going to lose. Luckily, vampires are thirsty for more cards. We're running a few of the best ways to keep the blood flowing. Forerunner of the Legion is a 3-mana tutor that lets us find any vampire in our deck and put it to the top. This is how we find our win condition or other essential combo pieces. We also have Welcoming Vampire, a 2-mana creature with flying that lets us draw a card whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield. This is a perfect fit for all the 1/1 tokens that Edgar is going to be making. And if you want to get truly devious, we have the Falcon Wrath Pit Fighter, which lets you sacrifice a vampire to draw 2 cards for a truly explosive turn. Ivora, Insatiable Air, creates a blood token whenever she enters or deals combat damage to a player, which you can then sacrifice to draw a card. Now, no deck is going to be complete without ways to remove your opponent's creatures and permanents. We're in Orzhov colors, so we have access to some of the most efficient removals in the game. We're running classics like Path to Exile and Swords to Plowshare, which exile creatures for just 1 mana. We also have Despark, which can get rid of any permanent with a mana value of 4 or greater, and Fracture, which can hit artifacts, enchantments, or planeswalkers. We are not playing fair, and neither should they. So when the board is getting out of hand, we can reset with the best tribal board wipes. Crippling Fear is an incredible card that gives all non-vampire creatures -3/-3 until the end of the turn, leaving our board in perfect shape. We can also run Olivia's Wrath, which gives non-vampire creatures -X, where X is the number of vampires we control. And if we really need to clean the house, we have Everything Comes to Dust, which can be convoked by our creatures to exile all non-vampire creatures, artifacts, and enchantments. Our mana base is super important in a 3-color deck like this. We're running all the dual lands we can to make sure we have all the colors we need. But let's talk about some spicy utility lands. Vault of the Archangel gives all of our creatures Death Touch and Lifelink for a turn, which is insane with our army of tokens. We can also run lands like Command Tower, which is a staple in any commander deck, and Shattered Sanctum to help us fix our colors. Let's talk about some of the more lethal combos in this deck. The classic is Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond combo. Exquisite Blood says whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And Sanguine Bond says whenever you gain life, an opponent loses that much life. See where this is going? This combo creates a loop that will drain all of your opponents to death. We can also use cards like Blood Chief Ascension, which then it has 3 counters on it that says whenever an opponent loses life, they lose 2 more life. This can easily get out of hand and drain your opponents with just a few small creatures. And there you have it. That is our deep dive into this bloody and beautiful world of Edgar Markov. This deck is a masterpiece of tribal synergy and ruthless efficiency. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.